They wake up to the rats. They wake up to the birds. They wake up to the freezing cold. Right here in Chicago on Lakeshore and Wilson Drive.
They're not offering these people down here anything. We shouldn't have to do this. It's about human lives. It's not about drugs or gangs or none of that. Human lives.
Where we gonna go? We go out there, and the police gonna tell us, man, we gotta leave. Now, we ain't got no place to go but here. All right, we keep the place clean.
In Illinois, 1 in 3 people experiencing homelessness is employed full-time. Despite their hard work, they still can't afford even the smallest space to call home.
We didn't put ourselves out here. Circumstances beyond our control put us out here. There's a lot of abandoned buildings around here where if the mayor and the alderman got together and took some of these abandoned buildings and turned them into apartments for the homeless, that'd be a magnificent job.
I lost my job, and then my roommate threw me out within 24 hours. And didn't give me a chance to find another job, just said, give me the key, you're out of here in an hour.
That shelters often do not accommodate people who have a job due to curfew. That they often do not accommodate people with physical disabilities or mental illnesses.
As dawn breaks over Chicago, there's a sense of purpose in the air. Trains glide along their tracks, coffee shops unlock their doors, and the skyline rises tall as people head off to work, school, and the meetings that will shape their day. Illinois has long been seen as the backbone of the Midwest, a hub of industry, education, and financial power, a place tied to opportunity and stability. Yet, even in these quiet moments of mourning, another reality exists just beyond view. How can a state that looks so functional on the surface also be struggling underneath? As the city begins to come alive, the contrast becomes harder to ignore. Beneath overpasses, near busy bus stops, some people are waking up too, not in apartments or houses, but in cars, on benches, or wherever the night allowed them to rest.
Tent City is a place where there's homeless families. There are people who have no place to live, nowhere to go, nowhere to turn to. They work it up into a reality that we couldn't even imagine to wake up to. They wake up to the rats. They wake up to the birds. They wake up to the freezing cold. Right here in Chicago on Lakeshore and Wilson Drive.
This is the side of homelessness in Illinois that rarely makes headlines because it doesn't always look dramatic. It blends in, hides in plain sight, and often evades official counts. If prosperity surrounds us at every turn, why are so many lives unfolding without a stable place to call home?
Where years ago there used to be low class, poverty level, then the middle class, and then the upper class. But now it's just the upper class, no middle class. Middle class is with the poor too.
This is not a story of isolated hardship or rare misfortune. It's about a quiet gap between what Illinois promises and what many residents experience. Homelessness here is not limited to dark alleyways. It stretches into vehicles parked overnight, classrooms filled with children carrying invisible burdens, and statistics that never fully capture the truth. What does it say about a society when hardship can exist so close to success, yet remain largely unseen? Illinois didn't reach this point overnight. The forces behind it are layered, structural, and deeply connected to how housing, work, and support systems operate today. To understand what's happening now, we need to look beyond the skyline and listen to what the early hours of the state are quietly revealing. Once you see this contrast clearly, it's impossible to look away. When the topic turns to data, homelessness in Illinois is often reduced to charts and annual counts that seem neat and precise. The most recent statewide point-in-time report shows over 25,000 people experiencing homelessness on a single night, a sharp increase compared to just a few years ago. On paper, these numbers appear measurable and under control, but in reality, they only capture what's visible at that moment. Thousands more are missing from these counts, sleeping in cars, moving between temporary stays, or intentionally avoiding public spaces. If a crisis can grow this quickly and remain partly invisible, can numbers alone ever truly capture the full story? Behind every statistic is a clear and troubling pattern. Families now make up a large portion of those affected, with school districts across the state reporting thousands of students each year who don't have a fixed address, often moving between motels, cars, and temporary arrangements. At the same time, an increasing number of homeless adults are employed, some working full-time, yet still unable to afford stable housing. This reality, often referred to as working homeless America, underscores the larger housing crisis Illinois is grappling with, where income no longer guarantees security. When work can't protect people from losing their homes, what does that say about the system's foundation? What makes these numbers especially concerning is how little they reflect the human cost behind them. Each person left out of official counts represents constant stress, disrupted routines, and decisions made out of necessity rather than choice. This isn't just a statistical problem. It's a growing public health crisis affecting mental well-being, educational outcomes, and community stability across the state. If the data only captures the surface, what deeper realities are forming just beyond the margins? Understanding the numbers is only the first step. Once the silence behind them becomes clear, the focus must shift from counting people to understanding how they're living, why so many remain unseen, and how quickly instability is spreading. These are the same questions central to any serious documentary on homelessness in America, and they lead us straight to the streets, schools, and neighborhoods where this crisis is no longer an abstract concept, but a lived reality every day. Chicago is often hailed as a city of strength and ambition, but it is also where the contradictions of homelessness are most visible. In early 2025, local counts estimated that more than 7,000 people were experiencing homelessness on a single winter night, including over 1,300 living completely unsheltered under bridges, near transit lines, and along major corridors. While these numbers showed a decline compared to the previous year's emergency surge, they still place Chicago among the cities with the largest unhoused populations in the country. If progress is being claimed, why does the scale of the crisis still seem so overwhelming? Looking beyond a single night snapshot reveals a far larger and more persistent reality. Over the course of a year, tens of thousands of Chicago residents cycle through homelessness. Many of them never appear in street counts because they stay temporarily with friends, relatives, or in overcrowded apartments. Families with children and working adults now make up a growing share of this group, reinforcing the idea that housing instability is no longer confined to the margins. When a city as wealthy as Chicago cannot consistently provide housing for people who are working or raising children, what does true stability really mean? Substance use and untreated health challenges are also part of the picture, particularly among those living unsheltered. Outreach teams report that a significant portion of people on the streets struggle with addiction, often compounded by untreated mental health conditions. In these cases, homelessness is not just a housing issue, it's a public health crisis, where the lack of stability makes recovery much harder. Efforts focused on harm reduction and mental health awareness aim to keep people alive and connected to care. Yet, without permanent housing, these supports often function as temporary relief rather than lasting solutions. Can recovery really begin when daily survival takes precedence over everything else? The city has increased spending on shelters, winter warming centers, and short-term housing options, while also expanding partnerships with nonprofit outreach programs that work directly on the street. However, demand continues to outpace capacity, and many shelters operate at or near full occupancy throughout the year. This tension fuels ongoing debates about social support and whether current strategies are addressing the root causes or simply managing the symptoms. If resources are growing, but the crisis persists, what's missing from the approach? Chicago's story is not just one of failure. It reflects how deeply housing, health, and policy are interconnected. The contrast between economic power and human vulnerability here forces an uncomfortable question. In a city that can build so confidently upward, why does so much of the safety net remain so thin? The answer to that question stretches beyond Chicago's borders and speaks directly to how homelessness is unfolding across the rest of Illinois. Once you leave Chicago, the crisis doesn't disappear, it just changes shape. Highways stretch out, towns thin, and the absence of visible encampments creates the illusion that homelessness in Illinois is primarily an urban issue. In many rural areas, there are no shelters, no regular outreach teams, and no nearby clinics offering consistent care. People adapt by staying out of sight, sleeping in cars behind closed businesses, in garages quietly offered by acquaintances, or in abandoned buildings far from main roads. Central Illinois reveals another pressure point. Long-term housing options are limited, and programs meant to provide stability face ongoing funding uncertainty. When these supports weaken, people are pushed back into short-term solutions that never become permanent. This is the housing crisis Illinois rarely confronts directly, not a sudden collapse, but a slow erosion of stability that traps people in a revolving door of temporary arrangements. Children are among those most affected by this quiet instability. Many attend school while living in cars, motels, or crowded homes where they are only staying temporarily. They arrive with backpacks and homework, but without a fixed address to return to. This constant uncertainty fuels anxiety, disrupts learning, and increases the risk of long-term disengagement from school. How can a child focus on tomorrow's lesson when tonight's sleeping place is still unknown? This is where mental health awareness becomes inseparable from housing stability, because stress and emotional strain begin long before any visible crisis emerges. When even that basic foundation is missing, what kind of future are we quietly shaping? The farther we move from the city, the easier it becomes to overlook, and the harder it becomes to escape. And as this hidden reality deepens across the state, it forces a critical question that will follow us into the next chapter. If homelessness can thrive without being seen, what else are we failing to notice until it's too late? There is no shortage of evidence about what reduces homelessness over time. Cities and regions fully committed to the Housing First model, providing stable housing before demanding major life changes, have shown measurable, lasting results. When people are given a key and a door of their own, pathways to employment, health, and stability become possible. This is not just theory. It's a documented outcome. Yet in Illinois, these models remain only partially implemented, limited more by supply than by understanding. As of 2025, Illinois faces a significant gap in permanent supportive housing. Thousands of people who qualify for long-term housing assistance are still waiting, cycling through shelters, temporary placements, or informal arrangements. Each missing unit represents more than just a statistic. It represents another night without stability for someone who has already spent years contributing to their community through work, service, or family life. If proven solutions exist, why is access to them so limited? State leaders have made efforts in response. Illinois' multi-agency housing plan outlines coordination across departments, increased funding commitments, and expanded shelter capacity. Chicago has also raised its housing and homelessness budget, added beds, and moved toward a more unified system of care. On the ground, service providers and outreach workers continue to operate under intense pressure, making incremental progress with the resources available. These efforts matter, and they reflect a genuine intent to respond to a growing need. However, the scale of the challenge continues to outpace the response. Rent levels across the state have risen faster than wages, placing more working households at risk each year. At the same time, Illinois remains heavily reliant on federal housing programs for long-term stability. When those funding streams face uncertainty, thousands of families who recently secured housing may find themselves vulnerable again. This dynamic mirrors patterns seen across homelessness in America, where progress can be fragile without sustained investment. At the heart of this system is a fundamental tension. Housing is often treated as a final step, something earned after stability is achieved, rather than the foundation that makes stability possible. Temporary shelters and short-term interventions can prevent immediate harm, but without enough permanent housing, they function more like holding points than exits. The result is a system that manages homelessness rather than solving. This reality raises a central policy question that Illinois has yet to fully answer. Is the current approach designed to reduce homelessness over time, or simply to contain it at a manageable level? The state has the resources, land, and data to pursue lasting solutions. What remains uncertain is whether housing will be treated as essential infrastructure necessary to public well-being, like roads, schools, or hospitals, rather than as a conditional reward. The direction Illinois chooses will determine whether this crisis continues in cycles or finally begins to move toward resolution. What we have seen across Illinois is not a series of isolated failures, but a pattern, one shaped by policy decisions, funding priorities, and long-standing assumptions about who deserves stability and when. From Chicago's crowded shelters to the quiet highways of central Illinois, homelessness persists, not because solutions are unknown, but because they are inconsistently applied. This is the uncomfortable truth echoed throughout homelessness in America. The crisis continues, not in the absence of answers, but in the absence of commitment. Illinois now stands at a clear crossroads. The state can continue managing homelessness through temporary measures, counting progress in short-term declines while long-term instability continues to grow beneath the surface. Or it can choose a different path, one that treats housing as essential infrastructure, not a reward earned after a long process. This means investing in permanent, affordable housing, strengthening social support systems, and fully committing to public policy reform that aligns wages, housing costs, and health services with the reality that people face every day. If we already know what works, why are we still hesitating to act at scale? This is not a call for sympathy alone. It's a call for responsibility. Voters, policymakers, and communities all play a role in deciding whether homelessness remains an accepted background condition or becomes a solvable challenge. Supporting nonprofit outreach programs, demanding accountability for housing budgets, and pushing leaders to prioritize long-term solutions are not abstract ideals. They are concrete actions that shape outcomes. If those with the power to decide remain passive, who pays the price for that silence? The future of Illinois does not depend on whether homelessness exists. It depends on whether we are willing to confront it honestly and act decisively. A society is measured not by the height of its skyline, but by the strength of the foundation beneath its most vulnerable residents. The question now is simple and unavoidable. Will Illinois continue to manage this crisis quietly, or finally choose to end it with intention and resolve?